Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by that guy, my buddy Myron.
Happy birthday, America! Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. So, how y'all doing tonight? Or today? Or it's 4th of July. Are y'all grilling out while you listen to this? You gonna shoot some fireworks? We got fireworks for you here today.
It's going to be cool, man. They're going to be able to listen to this while they're cooking out, celebrating with the family, the 4th of July, barbecue style, listening to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Or,
I really can't see anything with these on, so I'm going to put my actual glasses back on.
there you go. Well, you put your glasses on because of what I was just getting to. They don't necessarily have to just listen, they can watch it. It's going to be on Facebook, of course, as always, as our videos are. And, of course, if you're a diehard wrestling fan, you can always watch us on Jarrett Parsons Wrestling Television on all your Roku devices. And the big news this week, we're not just on Roku devices. We are now going to be on Amazon Fire Stick. Now, full disclosure, we're having to upload the content, so therefore it's going to be a little while before everything is on the Amazon Fire Stick because so much content was already loaded onto the Roku network. So therefore, it's going to take a minute, but bear with us. We'll get there. But Roku, we're already there. Matter of fact, I was at the office today watching some, just kind of tickling myself. I mean, just that we were sitting there, on television.
Well, I mean, it's not just that we're on television, which I think is wonderful, because who would have put us on television? But there's all that great wrestling, man.
Absolutely. Again, we just want to say thanks to the Rock Parsons, Adam Parsons, Mr. Jerry Jarrett for giving us an opportunity to air our show on Jarrett Parsons Wrestling Television, and again on all your Roku devices. But as always, we are hoping if you're not a video subscriber, you're subscribing somewhere, man. Whether that is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and of course, my personal favorite, Patreon.com/TappedOutPod, where you can get all the stuff, including the crazy show prep shows that we do. Sometimes they go long. It is just us just BS talking.
Yes.
So,
saying horrible things.
We do. We talk. We even blast. We blast some of the promotions, other shows, whatever. We just kind of say what we say, and that's what's there. But anywho,
you get that for the low price of
whatever level you choose. There's lots of stuff to choose from, so check it out. But man,
only in America.
Only in America can you get this great quality content for the price that you can. But man, hey, speaking of, there was another free show.
Yes.
That drew a little bit of attention this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
AEW ran their second event, Fyter Fest. It was a free on Bleacher Report Live. It was the first free event that I've watched on there. I did watch Double or Nothing there, obviously. But Fyter Fest, I thought I'd give it a whirl as well. You have not watched it, correct?
I have not watched that, no. I worked last weekend, and a lot was going on, and also I was kind of down in the back. So I went home and went to bed. And then Monday I took a muscle relax, and I lost the entire day. I have no idea what's going on. So, I have not had a chance to catch up and watch Fyter Fest. That's what I'm probably going to do over the 4-day weekend I have coming.
Well, now you've clearly seen video footage because it was a free show. Everything's kind of out at this point of what went down. First and foremost, I want to put out there, it was an okay card. It was a good show. It wasn't a great show. Anybody that says it was great, that's their opinion and they're entitled to it. Just wasn't really nothing like jumped out and made it a great card. Were there some really good matches on it? Oh yeah, there were. But top to bottom, it was okay. It was pretty good. But let's be honest, man. Let's talk about the positives first. Matt Sells I'm a fan of Matt Sells all over, and most people are probably listening if they don't do Georgia indie wrestling, they're just big. Matt Sells was the fan, quote unquote, that ran up between the Young Bucks during their entrance and did the Batista thing, and then of course clearly got put down by Kenny Omega when the lights went out. If you don't follow Matt Sells, look him up on Facebook. He does a show. It's always sunny in Matland. Never sunny in Matland.
I love to see a guy that promotes himself, and he does. You always know what show he's on. You always know the results. and you get those little preview videos he does, and he gets backstage in the major shows because he's a talent, promotes himself. He has a character and a persona.
I want my personal challenge to myself. I want Matt Sells on our show. Like I want to get him.
I'm working on a special show for him, where we sit in your basement and drink, and record the whole thing.
There, we can probably handle that. Some little Miller Lights and us sitting around and recording. Sold.
How many Miller Lights will that take? That's the challenge.
We'll see. Other things, Alan Angels.
Yes.
Under a mask. We'll leave it at that. But also was on Being the Elite this week. Friend of the show. Alan's just young talent that's going to be doing some great things down the road. Congrats for him for getting the shot. By the way, just before we get started, MJF and Adam Page are the long-term future of AEW. Just hands down, I think that's the future of the company. And I know the current is, obviously you have your Jericho and you have, Omega, the Bucks, Cody, all that. That's the now, but the future of those two. Now let's get to probably what everybody's talking about.
You don't bleed on a free show, baby. You gotta save that for the Omni.
And that's one thing of it. Now, the chair shot by Cody Rhodes. Took 10 staples to close him up, and they're saying he didn't have a concussion. Okay, that's awesome. So Shawn Spears made a debut and just basically waxed the hell out of Cody Rhodes with a chair, a gimmick chair. 10 stitches, okay. 10 staples. There you go.
The perfect 10.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. I'm sorry. I'm a huge Cornette fan, but I'm gonna have to go with Cornette on this. If you're gonna hit me with a chair, don't come back later and say it was a gimmick chair that went wrong, because you just shit on what you just did. You could just make it look like it was a real chair shot, and it was a brutal chair shot. Sell it.
Yeah. Now, what you're addressing is that in the post-show press conference, the Young Bucks said, it was a gimmick chair, something went wrong. And basically what went wrong was, I think the part that hit him in the head, like that was supposed to hit the flush, was gimmicked. But the top part of the chair was not, and it bent, wrapped, and busted him open, essentially.
Yeah, the part went wrong was he hit him with a chair.
Right.
Okay. Let's not break kayfabe. Okay. Let's not apologize for something that had an amazing dramatic impact. Okay. Don't come back and say the chair was gimmick, because that makes the prop guy look at fault, not Shawn Spears. Okay. If you're going to have a villain, the villain needs to be the guy that hit the guy with the chair, not the guy who was supposed to gimmick the chair prior to that.
Correct. I mean, but here's the thing, the great debate, I guess, for the last, 5 days at this point, wink, is in 2019, is that chair shot even, I just don't think it's necessary.
It was not necessary, but you did it, so you might as well sell it. No, it was not necessary. Not at all. CTE, all the things we know now, that chair shot was not necessary. You saw The Rock and Foley when The Rock just took that chair to him, and now, Foley loses memories and stuff. Cody, we don't need that. That was not necessary. You had a match with Darby Allin that everybody loved, and you came out there and ruined it with that chair shot. Why?
Chair shots can absolutely, and I know it's, I was, on social media as it was going on and stuff, and it baffled me to see that many people completely pulled out of a moment. Like me personally, I said everything they established with Darby Allin in that match, I felt like they lost as soon as that chair shot happened, because the only thing I completely went into, like, oh my God, what are you thinking? Like, I wasn't like, dude, that match was awesome, or dude, that, literally was like, no, what are you thinking? It's stupid.
You can't follow a chair shot like that. You can't do anything. It erases the memory of the audience, because that's all you can focus on. You had Darby Allin over. Cody and him did a match, and you had to do that at the end. Are we trying too hard, AWE? Nick, are they trying too hard?
AEW was I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. You know, I think they were trying to differentiate themselves, quote unquote, but I don't think going back to something like that's what they want to do. I think going into a new network TV. But think about it. They haven't aired an episode yet. TNT sees that, and are their executives going, I don't know that's what we want.
You got a man with his hands in his pockets. You got a man who covered himself with baby oil. You got bloody chair shots and all that other stuff. And it's like, now I love the guy painted yellow. He's a great guy, but you start looking at it from a network perspective, and
I mean, and then your main event was basically no holds barred. And I'm not totally opposed to what they did in the main event. That it was just a brutal brawl with thumbtacks and stuff. I'm like, but if it's a pay-per-view and that's not on TV, and Tony Khan did specify that that's not going to be something that they do on TV, that they're not. It's going to be better normal wrestling.
No, you shouldn't put that stuff on TV because you got to make people want the pay-per-view. Right. How are you going to make you want the pay-per-view if you put it on TV every week?
No, that you can't build that kind of momentum.
That's what's killing the WWE, because they put pay-per-view matches on Raw and SmackDown every week, and there's no reason 9 times out of 10 to watch their pay-per-views.
The funny part is you could watch just the pay-per-views, and I think overall you would be happy if that's all you watched. But anyway, we digress. I want to get to what I was ultimately trying to get to here was about this chair shot. Is I know a lot of people, just a lot of veterans and wrestlers, like, oh, it's not ballet, it's this is kind of, we know what we're getting into, and I know what they're saying, that it's a physical sport to get into. Sports entertainment, call it whatever you will, but at the same time, if we knew then what we knew now, you in good conscience couldn't have done even the things we did 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago with chairs. I will. Here's the record. I'm gonna say it because we've talked about this in the past. We sat in a match. God, was it Hardcore Hell?
Hell, not this year, but the year
20?
before that.
Was it 20?
Yes, it was the 20th anniversary.
Okay, so we went up to Cornelia and we saw a match, and by the way, the match involved, think about it, 2 Georgia Wrestlers of the Year. It was Gunnar Miller, who we're big fans of the 60-Minute Broadway, that he does a show on Facebook. Logan Creed, who I think right now we both said it, quite arguably is the best wrestler in the state of Georgia right now.
And if he's not, you're going to have to prove him wrong. He's not. That's,
right. But they did some unprotected chair shots, and in that match, if they both asked me, I would say, you lost me. I completely came out of that match because he just Gunnar wailed the shit out of him with those chair shots over and over, and it was unprotected chair shots. I could
have made the first one, but the second one, and there was some stuff where like, God, put your hands up.
Yeah.
And it was not entertaining anymore.
It lost it. And then the funny part is, to kind of bearing off of that, Cody is literally an executive of this company. Cody is the face of the franchise, basically, as far as when it comes to the younger wrestler coming on. And it was funny. Of all people, like my wife says to me, well, what if the younger guys just go like, I'll ask for forgiveness versus permission. I'll do it, in a match. And then if they say anything, all they got to do is like, well, you did it.
Yeah.
And then,
folks, it took 20 years for my high school football concussions to show up. And they have. And there's blank spots in my memory. Can't lie. A lot of stuff is fuzzy for me. I got through college fine, wasn't a problem. But about 20 years after they happened, things went gray in areas. Cody's a young man. You don't need to do that, buddy.
No one does. And that's where I wanted to get to him. And it's just my opinion, and I get it. I've never stepped in the ring, and I've never worked a match. But I would tell anybody who does that it's not necessary. If you're going to take the headshot, get your arms up, get your hands up. I mean, that's just, we just know it's just not it doesn't play well in 2019.
No,
especially on television. That's all I'm going to say. But Speaking of television, let's go ahead and move on. Two big, huge changes to pro wrestling television in the last, week. We recorded obviously before the news broke. Paul Heyman is taking over Raw. Eric Bischoff will be taking over SmackDown as his executive director roles for those two companies, or the two shows, respectively.
Director. That's going to be a role that, to me, will have to be defined on the fly for us to understand it. You've got Bruce at the right hand of Vince. You've got the man with three H's. You've got Stephanie. You've got Shane all up in there. And then each show has their own executive director now.
Here's my take on what I perceive it to be, and I could be totally wrong. So if I'm wrong, so be it. But they will have to be fleshed out over time. You are correct. My understanding is because everybody's like, well, why didn't Triple H get one of these roles? Well, he already has this role. He does it for NXT. Now, not only does he have this role for NXT, he's in charge of international expansion. He's in charge of the talent as a whole. He's on the board. But he's got so many things going on.
COO, right?
This would be a step down for him, I think. Like, this position's beneath him. Yeah. Just me personally. So I think if you look at it in a diagram, you would have Paul Heyman Raw, Eric Bischoff as SmackDown, and Triple H, and essentially those roles for each brand of NXT, SmackDown, and Raw, doing kind of those. And Triple H has all of his other duties, obviously, on top of that. I think basically what they're brought in to do is basically to be from a creative side, or a television production of department, essentially. Now I know Kevin Dunn does the producing of what you see, but I think these guys are going to help direct. What the hell's that?
That's Lucky Beaver.
Oh, okay.
He's got giant teeth.
Yeah, but they'll
have one giant tooth that goes in these things. But
and I think this positions were set up because, contrary to popular belief, the XFL is closer to happening than people want to think.
Is that really going to happen? It looks like it's going to happen, and I thought it wasn't going to happen.
Man, I was talking about it with a friend of ours today about the XFL. It's coming in the spring of next year. He's already got coaches set up. He's got legit coaches. I didn't even realize it until we were looking at some of the coaches' names. There's Bob Stoops from the University of Oklahoma is one of the coaches. Jim Zorn, who was a quarterback with the Seattle Seahawks and was a coach. Coaches from the CFL. There's coaches from the University of Michigan. There's Coach June Jones, who was at Hawaii, who was a former Falcons coach.
Falcons coach.
Yeah, he's got some credible coaches coming in. So, and I just think when they get to Fox, where Bischoff, I think, will be in his stride by then, hopefully. You're 5 months away from the XFL starting. I think Vince needs these three, positions where somebody's steering those ships. Now, they're all going to answer to Vince, and we never have said otherwise, right? We know at the end of the day, the buck always stops with Vince.
But, you told me, and I did not know this till tonight, that Bischoff, I saw he was moving Connecticut, but I did not realize he didn't actually have anything to do with SmackDown until after I watched SmackDown, and SmackDown looked just like SmackDown did before I stopped watching WWE.
Right. I'd listened to his podcast, but pretty much you get the vibe that he's going to pretty much be starting after Extreme Rules, so he can get moved, and get from Wyoming and get moved into Connecticut, get settled in, and probably get to work. Now, I'm sure he's going to be involved.
So I did a Gunnar Miller, and I was on a fast. I was on a WWE fast. I missed the last pay-per-view. I've missed a month and a half of wrestling. I tuned into these two programs. Raw, pretty good. SmackDown, not plus. Nothing special. Looked just like every other SmackDown. Raw had little fat Heyman fingerprints in it.
Lots of cool stuff.
Jim Cornette says he looks like Albert Hitchcock, by the way.
Actually, not bad. He looks like that's not bad. Actually, I've not heard that, but it was good.
But seriously though, I saw a little bit of his. Heyman had that sizzle, that inappropriate that you could get from his programs.
Yeah, a little edgy.
It was an EC WWE, in my opinion.
I'm going to ask you something. This came up on social media, and I want to ask you the question. I'll let you expound on it. Raw was good. Raw was really good, I thought, overall. But it wasn't great in the sense, like, it wasn't one of the greatest Raws I've ever seen. But do you think that it was positively received because people went into it wanting to like it because, oh, Heyman's going to be running it this week?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got to give that 100%. And you, as you said, Heyman really didn't even have that big an input on it. He was just they were kind of working him in. I think people were just hungry to see something different so badly that they wanted that. Just the concept that Heyman was there made it look better, even though he really didn't do that much.
I mean, you could see he influenced. There were things like clearly the opening thing, the opening segment where they went through the Titantron, the explosions. Kudos to whoever called this shot. I mean, I don't think it was Heyman, but whoever chose to do the camera shot that was way far away.
Yeah,
and stuff that made it look like it wasn't like planned. It was like, and kudos, by the way. I know it didn't last long, but when the Viking Raiders came out in the segment following, the Titantron was still off. Like they didn't turn it back on until the New Day came. But yeah. So.
And how about they pulled a lot of talent out of obscurity and brought them back onto the show? The Viking Raiders. They had the Street Profits from NXT. They had Mike and Maria Kanellis.
That was, by the way, not to interrupt you there, I'm sorry, but that screamed Paul Heyman all over it.
Well, Paul's always been a big Maria Kanellis fan.
Well, I just mean the pregnant, the I'm pregnant and basically making Mike her bitch, as she put it. And
well, yeah, that was straight up great. That was Paul. That had to come from Paul. I mean, he's good. He's the best they've got on the mic right now. He's something special.
Yeah, and it went over really well. By the way, we did get the numbers. The overall rating or the overall viewership was 2.496 million, 2.468 hour one, 2.676 hour two, which it generally goes up. The drop only went down to 2.345, and that's million obviously. It was the number 3 show on cable, which is something we've always talked about, right? Doesn't matter.
Two conservative talk shows.
Always. But it was number 1 in the popular 18 to 49 demo.
Yes.
So that's because everybody and their brother over 50-something is watching Hannity or Rachel Maddow or what.
My mother's TV only has one channel. It's Fox News. I have never been in her house where the TV was on another channel unless one of her grandchildren was over there and said, "Put it on Fox News. I can't watch Fox News anymore."
There you go. So
she watched that stuff nonstop.
And so they're still doing, like we've had this conversation. I know Greg DeMarco, I've seen him posting about it on, from the chairshot.com. Same thing. We're beating this into the ground of the ratings lower, but if you're still the number 1 show in the target demo, you can't really do better than that.
No, and that's what they pay for. They pay to have the number 1 show for the demographic, and the number 3 show overall. That's bigger than any ratings number.
Now,
but you're not going to compete with those guys in their commercials for impotence and catheters and stuff.
Well, devil's advocate, by the way, that was on cable. Once they move to network, they're going to have to do better as far as an overall number. But we'll see. I think they're going to
Friday night though on network TV, which is a dead TV night.
Well, we'll see, man. But the people followed wrestling pretty strong. Plus, by the way, we did the rating held strong because all night long they hyped. I mean, and it was this thing we always talk about, weaving a story throughout the night. We were getting to AJ Styles versus Ricochet in the main event, a rematch from last week, and it was for the U.S. title. And of course, we got what the club gets rejuvenated. Gallows and Anderson reunited with their leader AJ Styles. The club's back together. AJ's heel. Kudos. They needed a good heel.
Yeah, they need heels. Heels are what makes wrestling work. Heels call the matches. Heels put the baby faces over. It's not changed that much, folks. We're in a multimedia era, but it's still not fundamentally changed that much. If you don't have heels, you can't have baby faces.
And AJ needed a little refresh anyway, I believe. He was just kind of running that course, and I think, honestly, he probably I think enjoys it, to be honest with you.
He seemed like he was getting into it a little much. You know, it was like he was zoning in very well on that, and I enjoyed it. I mean, and you said weave the story all through the program. We have not seen that in at least 8-9 months in a Raw, where we can say that they work the storyline. And you know, we commented on this last year. We used to talk about how they would work through storylines, and they've stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Now they have something going on. They have brains behind it. Less Dana Warrior, more Paul Heyman.
We even got, I mean, they did it all night long with R-Truth and the 24/7 title.
No, that's the best thing. Seriously, that's the best thing they have going. I have not seen it since they debuted it, because I just saw like the side footage that they posted on YouTube and stuff. First time I watched Raw where I've got R-Truth, and he was just picking at Maverick in just psychological head games. But he's not like R-Truth. It's just like you can't believe he's doing head games. But he was in Maverick's head, and it was fun. That was a fun program, Nick.
I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask our listeners and our viewers the same question here, and send your answers to @TappedOutPod on Twitter, Facebook, Snap, Instagram, anywhere, whatever, or tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know. My question to you: is R-Truth the best comedy, like timing, his jokes, everything, in WWE history? Overall, like I said, even The Rock, when he was funny, you're kind of like, it was still like serious fun, but like true comedy.
We've got The Rock, we've got Chris Jericho, who is a masterpiece at this kind of thing. We're talking about the Attitude Era, where you had Mr. Psycho, and R-Truth is really doing a good. I mean, he's been there for all those eras. I mean, seriously.
I think improv. I mean, and I'm not. His stuff's probably scripted or whatever, but I mean, improv wise, he just seems like his comedy timing is just impeccable. I think he's doing a phenomenal job.
Well, they say he emotes, but he emotes believably, and you think that he is really a vapid person who calls it the 7-Eleven European Championship. He's believable, and it's what makes it so much fun, man. He was running all night, had people running after him. He was hiding. It's just too good. That whole thing to me was my favorite part of the whole thing.
I think I agree with you. So kudos to them. Hopefully they get things turned around and they're heading in the right direction, especially with the viewership and all that. We're hoping. There's another company out there that we're kind of hoping is going to get this thing turned around for them as well. Impact Wrestling, as we've discussed it several times on our show. The Pursuit channel sucks. They got to get off of there. The Twitch thing, God bless them, is, I think, been a plus.
The Pursuit channel has gotten dropped, and people are like, why did it not be on my DVR anymore? Well, most of your AT&T, your Uverse, your DirecTV dropped the HD Pursuit channel.
Yeah.
So if you had that set up to DVR for Impact, which I did, it's not there. They're watching like Bubba Goes Hunting and stuff, because they dropped that. There's no HD Pursuit channel on most of your bigger cable packages. So they've lost networks. They ran wrong shows. They've stopped a show in the middle of it and ran nothing but commercials. And then we hear it could go to AXS, who has New Japan, who has WOW. Imagine that on Saturday night, Nick, to be able to sit down and watch 3 hours of different wrestling products.
I mean, not since the days. I mean, we had the pleasure. I mean, I did. Growing up here in Atlanta. Joe Pedicino had that block of wrestling, the Superstars of Wrestling block, where it aired AWA, Memphis, Continental, WWE. I mean, Glow was in there. I mean, there was a world class. It was a hodgepodge of promotions over time that were in there for years. And that's, again, it's an option, because, we've been given chunks of time to watch, like a show. Like, we get a 3-hour WWE show on Monday, a 2-hour, so forth. This is an option to watch 3 different programs. Now, we don't know for sure, by the way, they're all going to do this. We know that's the interest. But the 3 block, think about that. You could put WoW, Impact, New Japan, like back to back to back. That'd
Hmm.
be a good block of wrestling for wrestling fans on a Saturday night.
And Mr. Cuban, Mark Cuban, if you want Nick to be your Pedicino, I will dress up like Bonnie Blackstone. Just put us on your television program. We can host wrestling shows better than anyone there is.
We'll do that block, man. Absolutely. But they're talking after Slammiversary probably. I know there's so much details to this that it's quite.
Well,
But
apparently Impact and Access are not just working out a TV deal. Apparently the deal is more inclusive, which I would like to see, because Anthem has not been able to get them much except to continue operating. Okay. Anthem has been able to give them an operating budget to sign talent and continue to put on a program, but you've not been able to bring them constructive television. So if Mark Cuban and them get into it,
maybe.
we have money, we have a vehicle. And he's a huge wrestling fan. He's the only person, Mark Cuban is actually the only person that I think could take on Vince long term. I don't think Tony Khan can, because of the ego that would be required to take Vince out. I think Mark Cuban would be the guy.
Well, it's all about promotion and advertising and stuff like that. And before we get into the local, Georgia indie talk, if you're looking to do some promotion, check out our friends over at North Georgia Graphics. You can find them at northgeorgiagraphics.com. They're located in Swanee. The phone number is 770-932-6967. Do a hell of a job. They do shirts. They do car wraps. They do, sticker, banners, you name it. Everything you can think of. If you want to do stuff for promotion for your wrestlers who want shirts made, like I said, banners for, promotions, running shows, tons of things they can do. And I mean, they can, like I said, they'll do a wrap for your car. They did the tapped out mobile. That was the old logo that was on the back.
You've seen wrestlers all over the Southeast wearing shirts, tapped out podcast shirts that Northeast Georgia printed for us.
Yeah, those original shirts that we had with the text was outlined in white. So that was all done by North Georgia Graphics. Again, in Swanee. Find them at northgeorgiagraphics.com. That's northgagraphics.com, just to make sure you know, northgagraphics.com. And what's that?
They're nice people.
Oh yeah.
With them not even know before the podcast started, them not even knowing who I am, and they were so super nice to me.
Yeah, Buddy and those guys are super nice guys. Give them a call, like I said, at 770-932-6967. Tell them the guys over the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast sent you, and they'll hook you up with some, the best deal you can possibly get on T-shirts, banners, car wraps, or whatever, you name it. Well, man, we're gonna use them. They're gonna sponsor out here as we get into Georgia indie wrestling talk, man. So let's go through some of the news and notes that have been out there. Where do you want to start, man? I'll let you start this week.
Well, I will start this week by saying that if I have to get tested for any kind of bloodborne pathogen after your show, I'm not going to your show. And that's not Georgia. That was in Indiana. Indiana, Kentucky, what do they call it? Kentuckiana. Kentucky has a harsh athletic commission because of what Ian Rotten and his program did with all the blood and stuff. So this promotion ran in Indiana, I guess, to get away, because they were originally from Tennessee. And apparently people were exposed to bloodborne pathogens, AIDS and hepatitis. Don't do that, folks.
That was reported.
That was reported. Even if it's all fake, even if it's just absolute paranoia from the health department, why would that have to happen in the first place? It's not necessary. So let's get that out of the way. And I want to go to some of the Georgia promotions that I am currently excited about. Southern Honor. They got a big show coming up. That's going to be awesome. June 12th?
July 12th.
Following it up, Southern Fried has a big show, July 20th. Also, Timothy Blackman from IWE came on and did a Shoots Fired with me to promote his show on July 20th in Augusta. The talent he's bringing in is second to none. Jack Hager, Selena De La Renta, who just recorded a special episode with me. Amber Nova, Casey Lennox, Alicia Tout,
Sean Legacy's going to be there. He was on the card.
Legacy, a great Southern Honor talent is going to be there, and probably one of the best talents working in Georgia right now. You've got an AWE show this Sunday. You've got a Stranglehold show this Saturday. And what do we got Sunday for barbecue, Nick?
That's the crazy thing, but we'll come back to the Stranglehold show because I want to talk about it for a second. But Ted Shoemake and the guys over at Praise the Lord Barbecue in Buford, friend of the show. I mean, we've known Ted. I've known Ted for a while. I've done a couple things there. Eat there a lot, by the way. The food's really good. Sunday the 7th, between 11:30 and 2, Road Warrior Animal and Tony Atlas will be there doing like a little autograph meet and greet kind of thing. Ted's a big wrestling fan. If you've never eaten there, all of your like your number for your table, it's all like wrestling, like Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen, or Dusty Rhodes, Mr. Wrestling #2. He's a very old school wrestling fan, by the way. So it's kind of cool if you're looking to meet Road Warrior Animal and Tony Atlas. You can go to Praise the Lord and between 11 and 2 on Sunday, get some great food, get the meet and greet, get the autographs. Let me ask you a question. Is that why the Stranglehold stuff isn't doing so hot? Because if you can go the next day and you can get Animal and Tony Atlas instead of going to the meet and greet. I mean,
Okay.
now hold on. I'm going to ask you because I don't know how valid this is, but I mean, we should have checked it, but I just didn't have the patience to go look for it. Stranglehold, Stephen Platinum was on his show he does for YouTube, Full Disclosure, and he said that he looked it up and it looked like 6 tickets were sold for this show, for the wrestling show.
That's tough. There's a lot of names on that. QT Marshall, Hawk. Sorry, Animal. Is it Animal?
Animal's the one that's still alive, yeah.
Um,
If Hawk was on the card, I would be going, but go ahead.
Yeah. And then they're not in Valdosta. They're in Austell. Okay, they've moved closer up here. I don't know about the ticket sales. Don't know. What I will tell you is a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, I shit all over the show report that was turned in for Spinebuster to Georgia Wrestling History. And the man who wrote it, Mr. Skaggs, reached out to me and thanked me for my honesty. And I said to him, y'all are working hard. Continue to try and keep up the hard work. Because if nobody knows what you're doing, nobody will go to it. And South Georgia is something that's underrepresented, honestly enough, in the Georgia wrestling history and in Georgia, because they don't turn in show reports. They don't get out there in the public. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
But that was with Spinebuster, though, right? Not Stranglehold, right?
Hold on, is there a difference?
Yeah. See, that's the crazy thing.
So confused. Folks, those concussions from high school are starting to take. I'm gonna go on record this whole time. I got those shows confused. I got Spinebuster and Stranglehold absolutely confused. I admit it. I'm at fault. Perhaps that little bow tie was too tight around my head and cut off circulation while I was doing research.
Absolutely. But anyway, yeah, so Stranglehold, hopefully they can sell, because the running joke with Stranglehold is, sorry, you tickled me there. Stranglehold has apparently got a 51-man battle royal, and if they've sold 6 tickets, what are the odds? We've seen that on social media. Are they going to sell more tickets than wrestlers they have are there going to be more wrestlers in the building than fans?
Oh, that's tough, man. Because if I'm not going to shit on that, it's different now that I'm shitting on a different product. Sorry.
No, but kudos. By the way, we'll come back to that. But kudos to the guy from Spinebuster to taking the criticism and messaging and saying, "Hey, I appreciate the critique." I mean, because let's be honest with you, you crapped on him pretty good on the show about how horrible this. But hey, you know what? We appreciate you listening. I mean, and I'm going to give you total.
Thanks for listening.
But total kudos for to responding.
Yeah.
And saying hey man, I appreciate blah blah blah. Okay man, well cool. I respect that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, this whole thing Stranglehold they got going on. That card has talent across the entire spectrum. And by that I mean with and without 51 men in a battle royal. How are you going to do that in a ring?
I mean, even if you used everybody that was on the card total, you know what I'm saying? Like even the other matches, if those guys come back and work a battle royal later, or vice versa, 51 men on the roster. If you paid, think about this. I'm about to just. If you only paid every guy $20,
$2,000 right there.
it's $1,000.
It was $1,000. Sorry.
So you got $1,000.
My math is clearly as bad as my knowledge of South Georgia wrestling.
So if your tickets were $10, because I don't know what their tickets are, you got to sell 100 tickets just to pay payroll. That doesn't count for anything else. My math's good for the most part.
My math not so good.
So
the calculator.
Yeah. So I mean and then there's a meet and greet beforehand. Good luck, and I'll leave it at that with Stranglehold. Good luck.
I don't want to see anybody fail.
No,
I never want to see anybody fail. I'm unlike Stephen Platinum in the fact that I say, well, it's more. He's like, it's not a good thing for more people, places to work. And it's not a bad thing for more places to work.
I'll correct and stand in between it for more good places to work. Just because you're a place to work doesn't necessarily mean it's a good place to work. And that, by the way, this isn't a knock on Stranglehold because I don't know that part of their thing. My thing is, he brings up a valid point about promotions. Like there's going to be in Georgia, we're heading into an era of there's going to be the haves and the have-nots.
Oh, he's right about that.
And we're not going to mention the name, but we've had conversations with people where they're like, you're going to be surprised. I think bigger names, some promotions are going to fade. That's just me personally. But let's, some of the other stuff, we're all excited about as AWE returns this week, July 7th, at the District. It's a bar in Atlanta. I mean, it's kind of that's what they run. They're faced with a challenge as well. They faced some challenges at the, beginning of the year, the end of last year. Attendance dropped dramatically. But if they can turn it around, they're going to have to do something to fire it up.
They've got a product people are hungry for. I've seen it. People love that, are passionate. We've seen them fans packed next to the ring. We've seen buildings full of people for their shows. But when you talk about haves and have-nots, the haves tend to be effectively promoting online and effectively promoting on social media and working through podcasts and working through videos. Those are the people that are promoting shows that draw crowds, are the people that aren't out there saying stuff about their fans that are negative. The people that are out there giving their fans teasers, the people that are working, the people that are producing DDP yoga quality videos.
Well, and there's also, I mean, you're saying, that some of that bad mix of it's not there. So it's a new thing. I hope, and we don't know anybody that's, maybe we will. Maybe I'll reach out to Chip and, I don't know, and say, hey, look, come on, give us a little feedback on what's going on at AWE. But
hell, we'll go to the show. We'll go to Praise the Lord and ride down there.
Well, I can't. I have a thing that day, which is
I'll probably stay at home too.
Yeah, no, I literally we have a party here at the house on Sunday too. I have 2 parties back-to-back days, so it's not going to happen. Long story. Family. But hopefully they get it turned around. They get the crowds back. It's all about storytelling to get your stories developing, get them going. But do they have the desire? Do they have the resources to, if they struggle for a couple shows, to keep going? Like what's the breaking point if they have 3 bad shows?
Well, that's another topic we talked about. These people that are just booking everybody for a show, trying to make themselves established and not working on storytelling long term.
Right, because you can't bring in big names constantly. That model doesn't work. You got to have your stories,
People in Georgia want a storyline. People in Georgia want to be able to follow something, and like the 515 thing that's going on, very much similar to the combat rules. And why anybody would start an overly complicated wrestling promotion? Sorry, Woody, if you're listening to this. Why would you, after seeing what happened to Combat Action, whatever it was called, why would you come up with something overly complicated and try to market it, because wrestling's about suspended disbelief. You don't want to keep score. You don't want to do all that stuff. You don't even want to know who won a lot of times. You just want to relax and enjoy it.
Right.
But you get a point scale and you get all this other stuff, and then it gets too complicated.
I'm actually, the 515, I don't think it's super complicated. It's just basically all the matches are 10 minutes. Whoever has the most pinfalls wins, or submissions, kind of whatever wins. And if they're tied, they have like a 5-minute overtime or something like that. And if they're still tied, they go to sudden death. I mean, it's just, I think it's more of the match. It's not like points you got to keep up with. So I get it. Basically, every match is going to be at least 10 minutes long. The problem with that is that can be problematic when you're running a show.
There's a lot of wrestlers I know in the state of Georgia that couldn't work a 10-minute match for the life depending on it.
Yeah. So with that, we'll find out. Now, hopefully, those guys aren't working there. So I'll be excited. Actually, I want to check out but that being said, with Woody starting up 5:15, Gary already tearing the house down in Canton at Southern Honor. Everybody says, where does that leave GPW? Leaves GPW on the outside looking in, I think, because the loyalty of the boys and the fans to Woody, and the standard, the standard bearer in Georgia wrestling right now, as far as production of a show and things like that. Southern Honor, it's there were discussions of being the third best show in Canton, and those shows weren't all in Canton.
Well, the third show was like on the south side of Atlanta.
But it's going to be really tough to be literally the third best show within, a few miles in Canton. So,
a lot of territory in Georgia, folks.
Good luck.
You're all up in one town. I don't think it's going to work out for everybody. And I know for a fact the Alpha, Canton is Gary, and probably in most of Georgia is Gary. I mean, the man has.
It's a show we don't miss. Think about it. It's a show we don't miss. And that next show's, for Gary and Southern Honor Wrestling, July 12th at the Action Building, southernhonorwrestling.com. Get your tickets. I mean, because they go quick. As closer you get to the show, they're going to be gone. And see us there. We'll be there. We always are.
Oh, no, I'm not going to be there.
I know. I'm taking my daughter this time.
I really apologize. I have exhausted all my vacation days trying to go to Southern Honor and Southern Fried. I have exhausted all my swap days. I would have to call in dead to be able to get off to go to another wrestling show. And I'm not I don't know if I'm going to say this where people can hear it, but
yeah,
I love what's going on in Georgia independent wrestling right now. I plan on expanding that. And, we go to our typical November retreat into North Carolina.
Got to go to WrestleCade, absolutely.
A lot of big names on that show. Dirty Dutch Mantel is going to be there this year. I mean, I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about trying to reach out. I'm talking to some people all over the country, trying to bring in more independent shows and talk to more people in independent wrestling, because that's the part I love.
Well, the tough call, man, is you're talking about using up all your dates. I mean, here we are. The problem is there's so many good shows that fall on the same date, like July 20th, the IWE show. And if you want to learn a little bit about IWE, Myron mentioned it to you earlier. Go back and check. This beginning of this week, we dropped that interview with Timothy Blackman, promoter, owner of IWE, talking about everybody on that show. But that same night in Monroe, Southern Fried running their show.
Yeah.
And they're still doing, they're built. I think, full honesty, I mean, a lot of people are saying they hot-shotted the 2 cage matches. Now, I heard they went over great. We did not get to make it. It's just a crazy time of the year right now for us with some family stuff. So we didn't get to make it. I know you had to work.
I had to work, and then my back was also out, so I basically came home and laid out. I'm sorry. I would have loved to have been there. I just could not stand or sit.
But they started building some new angles. The Pale Horse returns. Drew Duckworth, Pale Horse Jersey Quinn.
God, I love that guy.
Top-notch guy. I'm glad he's back. Can't wait to get out and see him again.
Yeah.
I know he's on that card for July 20th. JBE, continues to dominate tag team division there. At least they're building again, and I think it's what Todd does best, and
Yes.
that's storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they need to kind of. I'm not saying they've lost anything. They haven't. The crowd was down, but it's summer. It happens. It's what everybody says, right?
Yeah. It's Georgia.
But it was, it's just time for them to reload. Shindig happened. It's time for them to reload and get the stories going again. And I think they're heading in the right direction. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
So that's July 20th. That's down the road. But hey, I mean, it is what it is, right?
If you can't find good indie wrestling in Georgia, you're not looking. Now, and I don't know how it is in your neck of the woods of where you live, but look, and I would suspect you could find good indie wrestling not down the road from you too far.
Well, speaking of which, man, you were talking, on their show prep. I mean, before we get out of here, I want to mention, it's not hard to find. I mean, a couple of years ago, I drove 23 hours to Denver, Colorado to see Rocky Mountain Pro. They just had their annual show on the Fight, Fight TV, that Fight.tv. Yeah.
Dynamite show, folks. $9.99 on Fight TV. You get a phenomenal promotion, doing great production and putting on a good quality matches and good angles and storylines. Weekly TV. It's good, folks. You got to follow those guys. They're one of the standard bearers, in my opinion, for as far as indie wrestling. They're really doing something amazing out there.
Lots of those guys we're friends with still to this day. Like I said, Matt Yaden runs it. It's his promotion. Russo was involved there for a while, obviously. Curtis Cole, Mario Vanger, the Big Cat, Humphrey Jacobs. I mean, the first is
nice guys.
Best heel.
We were little bitty. They were awesome to us.
Yeah.
And it's so good to see them prosper.
Hey, you saw the big news, man. They brought in a new head trainer for the school there, Too Cold Scorpio. So kudos to those guys. Shout out to Rocky Mountain Pro. Give them check them out. Head over to Fight, to the Fight app, FITE, the Fight app, and check out Rocky Mountain Pro's Milestone 9. Like I said, $9.99. Good entertainment there for a couple hours and stuff, and you won't be disappointed. But what else you got, man? I mean, that's we kind of run the gambit here all over the place.
I've really enjoyed doing the show tonight because we just got to ramble about stuff and what we like. So that's all I got, man.
Well, brother, I mean, what's the old saying, man? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.